When it comes to Superman as a character, I've had a very mixed reception to him as I've grown up. Because as a kid, I thought he was the coolest fucking dude ever. Like, the guy can essentially do anything with as much as breaking a sweat and just returns to his life as being an absolute nobody, which no one could suspect of being Superman. But then as I grew older, it was that exact reason as to why I just kind of found his stories to be kind of boring and formulaic, if you know what I mean. But and it didn't really help when stuff like the Injustice storyline and the Henry Cavill movies came around. Not to say that Henry Cavill's a bad actor, but that guy didn't really sell me on Superman with how serious they were trying to take the story and with how the guy could barely even crack a fucking smile. But then, as of recently, I've caught up with some Superman media and recently found some enjoyment with the character. But it was this one show in particular which I never really expected to like in the first place, which honestly made me fall in love with the character all over again. And well, let's get into the review. Now, My Adventures with Superman is a very different adaptation when it comes to the Superman mythos. Because on one hand, look at things like the animation and art style, and especially with the character designs. You can see that they've made a lot of deviations when it comes to things which have kind of remained traditional as the years have gone by. Especially with characters like Lois and Jimmy and some other folks as the with the roster as well, which has its merits, but also kind of comes with some negatives, which I'm going to elaborate on further. And then there's some other things like the fact that the show takes more of a slice of life route to kind of put you into a false sense of security, at least in the beginning of the show. But I'm not gonna lie, as someone that had little to no expectations coming into this show, there was a certain point to where I was just watching this thing and I was in the middle of the season and I just started subconsciously cheering for my boy Superman. And it wasn't even in an action scene per se. It was just in this relatively simple setup that was wholesome as fuck. And it was at that point where I realized that, oh my god, I think I realize it now. Superman isn't fun as a character because of the crazy shit that he goes through and because he's an absolute powerhouse of a character. Superman is fun as a character because despite all the shit that he goes through, he's still human at the end of the day. My Adventures with Superman in the very beginning asks us a very simple question. Who is Clark Kent? And what does the show do after that? Well, it showcases the type of person who Clark Kent is. Clark Kent is this dork. He's a well-meaning guy that just wants to live a normal life. Yet despite looking normal on the surface, the guy is anything but that. And I just really like the way how they handle it, especially when it comes to the individual character arcs which everyone goes through. Like Clark feeling alien, both literally knowing that if anyone were to find out his secret, people would look at him differently and wouldn't accept him as the person who he is. And also when it comes to his alien heritage being so bad to the point to where he can't even understand what his Kryptonian dad is saying to him. And of course, Clark isn't the only main character of the show because you also have Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, which I just gotta say, I love when these three share screen time together. And I know, it's a bit of a cliche to always have two best friends be in on the secret when it comes to Superman media, or just to always be at the center of all the problems when superhero media happens. But when it comes to the relationship between Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, just these three just feel like the perfect trio, you know. And when all of them are on the same page, once the whole secret identity mumbo jumbo's out of the way, because this is an origin story, mind you, I just love how once again it only makes their friendship feel stronger and it only makes it feel all the more genuine, especially when it comes to Lois's relationship on the subject of trust. So when it comes to Lois, I don't think that there's any denying that she's definitely a flawed character. Because while she's very ambitious when it comes to her wanting to pursue her goal about being a reporter and all, she's a bit fucking insane and also, she's also a bit untrustworthy. But if I were going to highlight a specific set of episodes, there's this moment to where Lois finally gets her interview with Superman and Clark basically explains everything that he knows about himself to her regarding his past, regarding his powers, and his general motivations for things. But despite him basically telling her everything that he knows about himself and what he plans to do now that he's officially donned the whole Superman thing, at the same time, when he comes back to her not as Superman but as Clark Kent, Lois tells Clark that she thinks that Superman is just a liar. And it doesn't take for long in the next episode for Lois to start connecting the dots that Superman and Clark Kent are the same person and vice versa. Yet, despite the whole secret identity mumbo jumbo, at the same time, once these two are on the same page, especially after the two of them realize about why they did the things that they did, you can see this shift in Lois's character. Lois isn't this person that really cares about the story anymore because she's more concerned about Clark. And when it came to her wanting to go find out Superman's secrets, it's not out of spite to try and get this heads up on a promotion. It's to go help Clark find out more about himself. And it feels just so fucking genuine, and I love that. And I know, it's a very easy thing for someone like a Twitter user or for some random guy to say something like, oh, but this is like some Tumblr fanfic material. But I'm gonna be real with y'all people. We do not care, because I'm too busy having fun with this show. Yet, despite all my praises for the show, I do have one tiny little criticism, which is followed up with another praise, however. Which has to be regarding the villains, and let me elaborate. So, if I were going to say something, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really mind tech-based designs, because with the story that they were trying to go for in Season 1, I could totally get behind it, and I could see where they were kind of going for. However, I'm just gonna say, if you're gonna do the tech-based designs, they should have gone the Insomniac Games route. Now, I know, it sounds a bit disingenuous to say, because I compare a video game to a whole-ass TV show, but let me explain. Now, when you look at the Sinister Six, what is something that you notice immediately outside of the armor? Oh yeah, color. Now, what does My Adventures with Superman have? Well, with the exception of like a rare few characters, all these guys just fall into just the same gray color palette, and it just makes it hard to really tell the difference between them outside of their base traits. Not only that, but when it comes to their personalities, with the exception of a rare few characters at the same time, it kind of feels like I would just be saying that, yeah, if one crook was essentially just Livewire, all of them are essentially Livewire. However, there is one minor exception or two. For one thing, Mixie-Pick, I think that's his name. I'm not gonna say his full name because that shit is way too hard on the tongue. It's fun because, hey, the guy's chaotic and I respect that. And then there's also Parasite, which I gotta say is probably my favorite villain from this season. Not only because he's a perfect anti-Superman in the sense that while Clark stands for hope and optimism in an overly cynical world that otherwise doesn't really have anything to look up to, this guy stands as the complete opposite to that, and quite literally is a social parasite. And when he's not thriving off of other people's successes, he shrivels up into this pathetic, weak person, which is selling this fake personality for a fake company making empty threats, until he gets the parasite suit, which drains him not only financially but quite literally. And the fact that he's the villain of this show, like probably like the best one of the show when it comes to one-upping Superman almost damn near constantly to that badass battle near the end of the season, is honestly peak. Now, is My Adventures of Superman something that I would recommend? Well, it depends on the type of person which you are. If you're someone that's willing to give something a new look at things that are trying to fit into the character of Superman, I would recommend it, considering the fact that this shit converted me into a Superman fan in less than a week. However, if you're the type of person that just claims that this shit is a Tumblr fanfic, just watch Man of Tomorrow. You'll get as an equal amount of enjoyment, if not better, because, well, they have a whole new universe rolling with that now, I think. However, I'm Lone Wolf 360. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna go back to obsessing over Armored Core 6. Catch y'all next time, and yeah, see y'all later.